For 30 years, Winnipeg's GroundSwell has been at the forefront of presenting audiences with the best in groundbreaking new music. It has commissioned and premiered many works by the most progressive, vibrant, and visionary composers on the contemporary music scene. Many compositions performed at GroundSwell concerts make use of audio, video, electronics, and dance to enhance the sensory experience for the audience. This year, GroundSwell will be celebrating its 30th anniversary with 6 concerts that will feature world premieres of pieces, as well as performing artists from both here in Manitoba and abroad. To tell us more about GroundSwell's 30th anniversary season is their executive director, David Scott. Hi, David. Nice to have you here.
Hey, you too. Nice to see you.
Mm-hmm. So this year, GroundSwell is celebrating 30 years. I want to start the conversation out by just asking, when did you join the organization GroundSwell, and have you seen the organization change since you've been with GroundSwell?
Yeah, so I was just thinking back about that, and I guess I've kind of always been associated with GroundSwell as a composer. So even back in the 90s, when I was away at grad school and stuff, I was getting pieces done, and because I knew a lot of the people in the organization. But then in 2000, between 2000 and 2008, I was one of the permanent artistic directors of the organization. So I was curating concerts and everything for those years. And then I was out flailing around in the arts for a decade at CBC and universities and at the Manitoba Arts Council doing admin work. And then I joined GroundSwell as executive director in 2018. So I've sort of had a long and probably checkered past with the organization, but now I'm the executive director and artistic coordinator. So.
It's great. So this year, there are 6 concerts planned. It's an extremely varied pool of performers and composers. When did the planning for this 30th anniversary season start?
Well, it actually started in, I think it was, let's see, I made a note of that. We do our planning in 4-year cycles generally. So you kind of project out 4 years, and next year, the year that's just coming would be the most detailed, and then it would get less and less detailed. So this actually started in 2018, the planning for this season. Wow. As part of a 4-year cycle. And then originally this year, this slate of concerts particularly was scheduled for 2020, 2021. And of course, you know what happened to that year.
Right.
So basically everything from last year is being moved into this year in terms of concerts. And because it's our 30th anniversary and we have this terrifying and exciting ambition to do 30 events for our 30th anniversary, we kind of added to that roster from last year. So that's how this developed. But really, it's been in the planning stages for some time.
Mm-hmm. I know each one of the GroundSwell concerts has a different curator. I've always been sort of curious how this works. Do the curators pick their own performers and compositions, or do you all sort of sit around a table and brainstorm? How does that work?
Yeah, that's a really good question because as you probably know, and many of the listeners will know, GroundSwell was founded by 5 artistic directors essentially. So and the model was each director would curate one show. And, as far as overseeing the integrity of the season and the kind of artistic through line, that was really the job of the artistic coordinator, who was kind of outside of that group. So 5 originally started the organization. We have 2 founders that are still with the organization, and just 3 permanent artistic directors. So 3 permanent, 2 guests. Right. So in terms of each individual concert, and to answer your question more succinctly, each curator kind of curates their own show for the season, including repertoire, performers, etc. And the artistic coordinator kind of oversees all of that. And because I've got a dual role as artistic coordinator and executive director, I'm kind of in the loop on the admin side of things and keeping the budgets in line, but also creating this kind of through line. And I should mention that in the season coming, we actually have 7 commissions that we're presenting. And so that's really exciting. So that's the kind of thing where I would maybe coach the curators on, well, maybe we should balance this out with a new commission here, or a commission from a certain type of composer at a certain stage of their career. So it's a bit of a give and take situation, but generally speaking, each curator is in charge of their own concert.
Right. So that sort of leads me to the next question. There are 6 concerts. I thought maybe we'd start out by briefly doing an overview of the season, keeping in mind that the concerts is only one component of the GroundSwell season. There's the other two, there's the Length and Learn, but let's start out with the concerts. Can you just briefly touch on some of the highlights for this upcoming year in regards to that?
Yeah, sure. And one thing I think you'll notice is that we have 2 concerts in the fall season, one in October, one in November, and then we have 4 concerts after basically the middle of February. I mean, and the thing is that things aren't quite settled for the second half of the year. We have all sorts of ambitions, of course, and plans, but we have to also keep very flexible in these new circumstances we find ourselves in. So the concert in October features Leanne Zacharias, who is a cellist at Brandon University, and she does all kinds of very interesting, innovative work. The concert, as we originally planned it, featured the launch of a CD that she's recently done, and she's got video work and all sorts of very interesting new pieces on the program. It's a little bit vague at the moment, just because we're still sorting out some of the details of that concert, but we're using local performers for that concert, whether they're Brandon performers or Winnipeg performers. So it's ground travel only.
Yeah, and there's also I understand a chamber concerto by Nicole Lizet on the program as well.
Yeah, you see, this is what I'm not sure about. You see, that was originally planned, and Leanne is still working out the mechanics of that. Yeah, so
okay,
there's going to be a lot of that in this conversation. We've become so much more flexible in terms of planning, because you can't lock things down right now. So yeah, and so the second concert features Madeline Hildebrandt and 2 clarinetists from Brandon, Catherine Wood and Carrie Dewars, who's a violinist and well known to all of us. That concert is quite exciting because it's a piano focused concert. So Madeline Hildebrandt, of course, is a wonderful pianist, but she also does piano with voice, particularly, so amplified voice, manipulated voice. There may even be a piece for toy piano. I'm not sure about that. But on that concert, there are 2 newly commissioned trios. So GroundSwell commissioned a trio from Michael Matthews and a trio from the Toronto composer David Braid. So that's the first 2. Those are the first 2 commissions for the season. So that's going to be a very exciting concert, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third concert, probably in late February, early March. We're still not sure about that. It's the Standing Wave Ensemble from Vancouver, which is a sextet. I mean, they're well-established new music performers and commissioners. And we've also commissioned 2 young emerging composers from Manitoba, Kiera Nathaniel and Rebecca Schroeder, who are writing new pieces for the ensemble. So actually subsets of the ensemble. So a little trio, so that's going to be really fun. And that's also a GroundSwell commission. Fourth concert, March 15th, is actually set. We're doing it. This is David Berman and Cleek Shrey. So David Berman he's actually in his 80s. So he's he's an icon in the new music world. And he was associated early on with the Sonic Arts Union, with Alvin Lucier and Gordon Mama and Robert Ashley. And he was also the producer of Music of Our Time at Columbia Records. So this guy has been around for ages, right? Wow. And he has a really interesting blend of electronic manipulation and sound with traditional instruments. So that's going to be a very exciting concert. That one is curated by one of our guests this season, Chris Cole, who was the former director of Send and Receive Festival. So that's in March. This is one that I've got my fingers crossed for international travel, of course, because David Berman and Cleek Shrey are in New York.
And Cleek Shrey he's a violinist, right?
Yeah,
and
violinist. Yeah.
it sort of
Yeah.
focuses traditional music. Am I right in that?
Well, I'm not exactly sure about that, but I think that's one of his specialties, and he kind of melds that with a new sound electronic world as well. So it creates a very interesting kind of um, amalgamation of those two sound worlds. So yeah, it's going to be
Mhm.
very interesting.
Cool. And
Um,
what about the fifth concert?
Fifth concert is the Bozzini String Quartet from Montreal, and they've been around for over 2 decades. They've commissioned many new pieces, and they're extremely busy in terms of touring around all over the world. So that concert, we're still not exactly sure of the date on that. It's probably going to be the end of March, but it partly depends on their touring. Same with Standing Wave. These groups have to have multiple stops to make a tour, and so we're one of them, and we're trying to fit them in. And so anyway, March is going to be exceedingly busy for us because we have 3 shows right back to
Right.
back pretty much. But there again, we have 2 anniversary commissions, one from Jim Hiscott, the concert curator, and one from Kristen Wasinak, who's a recent graduate of the U of M composition school. And our 6th concert is in April, and that one also is set April 20th, 2022. And that features the ensemble from Marseille, France, Ensemble Telemach. And that's part of a bigger multi-year project we've been trying to see the completion of, because it's very exciting. But yeah, so that's a new partnership with Cirque Moliere Theater, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I was doing some reading. Apparently, this is part of an exchange project that GroundSwell had with Ensemble Telemach. Apparently, Manitoba composers went to France, and I guess it's reciprocal now. We're trying to get them over here. Is that right?
Yeah, so I'll just give you a bit of a background. This project had 2 phases. That kind of breaks it down a little bit. It started in 2017, and the project, as originally conceived, was to have 4 composers. So only one from Manitoba, Jim Hiscott, but there's also someone from Vancouver, Rita Ueda from Vancouver, James O'Callahan from Montreal, and Becca Sims from Toronto. So different composers from different regions, different aesthetics, would all get commissioned to write a piece for Ensemble Telemach, and then go to France to work with the group for the premiere. So that happened. So that started in 2017. They did the premiere in France in 2019, I believe. So that's the first phase. Second phase is to bring Ensemble Telemach to Canada. They'll do a concert in Winnipeg, Toronto, and Montreal. And that's around that April 2022 time. So it's a huge, long project. It was originally supposed to finish up in the last season, 2021, but of course we couldn't do it, so we've moved it into this year. So that's very, very exciting project. And I'm really glad that Cirque Moliere is really on board with this. They're very excited about bringing a group from France, and it puts us in line with their audience and in their wonderful theater. So it's going to be a really great end to our season for.
Yeah, it sounds fantastic. Absolutely. So we've got the 6 concerts. That's one component to the upcoming season. But another one of the components is this linked series. Can you talk about that? There's sort of 3 little elements to the linked aspect of it. Can you briefly touch on that?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, our 30th anniversary, we had this crazy idea to do 30 events. And so 6 concerts, live concerts, which is a mainstay of what GroundSwell does. That's 6 of those 30. And the other 24 will be divided up. So we have 12 in the so-called linked series, which is online or on the radio. And the other 12 will be in the learn series, which is basically education and outreach. And so a couple of highlights from each one of those for the coming season is in the linked series, online or on the radio, we're going to do some archival shows with you guys at 107. Because
Perfect.
we did a couple last year, which I thought were great. And basically, over the last 30 years, we've recorded all of our live shows, audio recorded, and we can make really wonderful broadcasts out of those. So that's one of our plans, to do at least 2 of those in the coming year.
Excellent.
And we're also doing some invited mini curations from people in the community that we've often never worked with before. So just to say, make us something, we're going to put it online, your vision, whatever you want to do. So those mini curations are going to open up new kind of relationships with people in the community, and that's something we've been wanting to do for a long time. And just to find out what's new out there, what people are doing. So that's another example. And then another one is the Radio Sandbox. I do a radio show every week on the University of Winnipeg's radio station, an hour of new music, which is a fantastic programming opportunity for us.
Sure.
So I opened up this Radio Sandbox idea to ask people to come in and just do whatever they want on the radio for an hour related to new music. If you're an instrument builder or a performer or a composer, a collaborative artist in some way, come on and we'll make a show. And so we're going to do that as well this year. So that's the kind of thing where we're trying to create new pathways to working relationships with other people. So that's 3 examples from the linked side of things. For Learn, which is education and outreach, one thing I'm very excited about this year is working with the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra and its Systema program, which puts some educators, string players principally, but educators in with students after school to perform music. It's a well-established method. And this year we're going to have Melody MacGyver, who's a composer and violist, working with the Systema professionals and the students in a project later on in the year. So it'll give them an opportunity to not just play kind of standard repertoire and play written music, but to write their own music, create their own projects, which is really very exciting. So, and that's a partnership for us. So
that sounds great. And what about some of the other organizations that you're teaming up with for the Learn series?
Well, this year we're working with the Winnipeg Classical Guitar Society. So we commissioned local composer Guy Michaud to write a piece for group guitar. So a group of students in the classroom, and he's working on that piece. And we're going to take it into the schools. I'm not exactly sure when. Again, this is one of those things you've got to see how things are going to go, but it's certainly in the second half of the year. So working with students on this new commissioned work. So that's very exciting as well. And then the last thing I just want to talk about as a highlight is we're partnering with Flipside Opera and Art Song Collective. And they're working on a project we've been talking about for a number of years. And it's a new song cycle by Michael Matthews and Dennis Cooley, the Winnipeg poet and writer. And it's a song cycle that they're going to make into a film.
Oh, and wow.
The subject is Bloody Jack Kravchenko, the well-known Winnipeg, I think he's a bank robber or something. But it's a really interesting historic project about this Manitoba fugitive, I suppose. And so they're going to make a film about it and have it's kind of like a music documentary, really. So we'll have the songs, a subset of the whole, and then a historian kind of giving a through line of that. So they're working on a film right now, and we're gonna work with them to kind of get it out in the world. And yeah, so it's a very interesting project, I think.
It sounds just fantastic. So I want to take it back to the concerts. You can see the concerts live and in person, and you can see them online this year. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so it's as you can imagine, it's a complicated nest of relationships here. So we got some funding to videotape our live concerts. So the plan as of today, which is September 1st, is to make 6 live concerts to live audience and videotape those. So in other words, audience can come in, they can sit and watch, or if they choose, they can, in a couple of weeks, probably after the show, they'll be available online. So we're going to record them and mix them and prepare them for online. Yeah, so that gives the audience a choice. I mean, if you don't particularly want to go into a public space, you can have the shows at home. You can do both if you like. This year we've got a bit of a different pay structure or fee structure in terms of our concerts. We're not having season tickets. We're adopting a pay what you can, how you can model. And so you can buy tickets online through our website and Eventbrite, and they're in $5 increments. So if you want to buy a ticket for the show at $5, that's fine, or you can buy a ticket for $30. That's fine. I highly recommend $30 ticket, by
Yes,
the way.
of course.
Um, and then as far as and there won't necessarily be any proof of purchase. It's really, it's pay what you can, how you can. If you come to the show, you can drop a $10 bill in the bin, or you can write a check. I'll probably have self-addressed envelopes there for people to write a check for later. But we're not going to have any transactions at the door. So in the past, we would take cash and give change and have a online credit card, but we're going to dispense with all that this year and just kind of leave it up to the participant to pay what they want and how they want at the show, or online or in the mail. Also, as far as protocols, I mean, this is a moving target, but of course we'll follow all provincial and venue protocols because we go to a number of different venues. We're going to ask for a proof of double backs, I believe, and some photo ID, which seems to be, I've talked to a lot of organizations in the city, and that seems to be the way we're going. I know there's some controversy about that, and I think we'll have to see how the year plays out, you know?
Yeah, right.
But all the details will be on our website. So
yeah, which is next my quick question. The season sounds great. Where can people go to find out more about GroundSwell's 2021-2022 30th anniversary season?
Well, GSwell.ca, and we've been under construction for the last little while, and I believe it's up now. But if it isn't, keep going back. I mean,
it's up. I was up there this morning. It worked just fine. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
That's great. Good to know. Yeah, and I should mention, I mean, the first concert is in October, but we do have an event actually launching this week. It's a partnership event with Send and Receive, and Video Pool, actually. And it's an installation at the Poolside Gallery and Art Space. This wonderful composer and sound artist from, she's at Harvard now, I believe, Yvette Janine Jackson, has got an installation that's up for a full month at the Poolside Gallery, and we're partnering with Video Pool and Send and Receive on that. So it's already started,
Nice. David, the season sounds just great. It's just been such a great time chatting with you and hearing about this amazing upcoming season. It's going to be a real feast for the senses. Thanks so much for taking the time to chat with me today. This has just been a lot of fun.
Well, thanks so much, Chris. And we'll just keep going forward. And I think the main thing is that things are in flux, right? So our website is at a certain point, and things will change and develop and solidify as the year goes. So I think that's the dance card for this year and for a lot of organizations.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's GSwell.ca for our Classic 107 listeners. And I'll embed, of course, a link into the article on our website, classic107.com. David, thanks again.
Thanks so much. Have a good day.